All right, let's get into this. The internet, right? It's this massive, ongoing, sometimes pretty bizarre stage for human drama.
Absolutely. And nowhere more so, perhaps, than in these online communities that, well, meticulously document figures they call lolcows. It's quite a subculture.
Definitely unsettling at times. So today we're doing a deep dive into the final chapter of Joe Winco. His recent death has really sparked a lot of reaction within the Kiwi farms community.
Right. And our goal here is to sort of explore that unique online identity he built, his really deep-seated obsessions, particularly around life and death.
And the reactions, yeah, the pretty raw reactions to his passing, all seen through the lens of those who followed him online.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how these threads, these online discussions, they become almost like living archives. They capture not just events, but the real-time collective response.
It makes you wonder, what does it actually mean when your life, even your death, gets publicly documented and, frankly, critiqued by strangers online?
It's a heavy question. And our sources for this, just to be clear, are basically the raw pages from the Joe Winco thread on Kiwi Farms. So you're getting unfiltered user posts, Winco's own final messages. It's very direct.
Very unvarnished. Okay, so let's talk about Joe Winco's persona. The self-portrait he painted online was elaborate, to say the least.
Oh, yeah. He had these very specific self-descriptors, like the gay master lol blow.
Right, and self-admitted gay Hawaiian Ricardo Milos cosplayer.
Uploaded his consciousness to the Sims Ed Wood of Machinima. It's quite the list.
It really is. And for anyone maybe not super familiar, a law cow in these circles is basically someone whose unusual behavior gets intensely documented, often very critically. Winco seemed to really lean into that.
He absolutely did. It felt theatrical. These labels weren't just, random words. They felt like his core online identity, like the bit, was maybe the most real part of his self-expression for him.
He was committed, you could see that.
Yeah.
And this informed everything he did online, right? Like his YouTube channel.
Yeah, Winco 567. It was mostly creepypasta videos and animated movies. Creepypasta being those internet horror stories, and Machinima using game engines for films.
And the whole always shirtless thing in his videos, that wasn't just random either, was it?
No, he explicitly said it was to find a partner. It was a very deliberate, if maybe kind of sad, attempt at connection.
And this approach, being so public, it attracted, well, certain kinds of attention, like that retarded scheme he mentioned.
Right, involving someone pretending to be Rolf's cousin. It sort of highlights his maybe overly optimistic nature, but also the kind of interactions he often had with what the community sometimes calls crazy spurgs. A pretty loaded term.
Yeah, it is. But beneath the performance, it feels like he was genuinely looking for connection. You see it in his posts about dating sites.
Definitely. He was really open about his frustrations with FetLife and Tinder. He said FetLife felt like it was firmly in fantasy for many users, with no real-life follow-through.
Which honestly probably resonates with a lot of people's online dating experiences. He wanted, what does he say? Emotional fulfillment.
Yeah, over weird sex stuff. And he talked constantly about being ghosted, feeling cut off by systems.
Spending every single day by myself. It's pretty heartbreaking when you read his own words. The isolation feels really raw.
And that sense of loneliness, that yearning, it connects directly to another really significant part of his world. This intense focus on death and the afterlife.
Especially concerning Rolf, right? This figure he felt deeply connected to.
Extremely. He talked about seeing Rolf in dreams, in visions, wishing they were constant and longer. He actively tried to preserve Rolf's memory.
Like hanging up post-mortem pictures.
Yeah, all over his place, explicitly so he wouldn't forget Rolf's face. He even said he wanted to research ways to induce hallucinations so I see him more often.
Wow. That goes beyond typical grief. It's like a desperate attempt to maintain a connection, almost blurring reality.
He even referenced the movie Carnival of Souls, where the woman is haunted by a ghost.
Yeah.
But he saw his experience with Rolf as positive, almost comforting, not scary like in the film, which is quite a twist.
And this fascination wasn't just about Rolf, was it? He seemed preoccupied with his own death for a long time.
A very long time. He made a fake newspaper article about myself, imagining his death in Arkansas back in 2015.
Wow. And the obsession with becoming a John Doe, his videos about Michelle Garvey's memorial cross.
Exactly. Made in 2020 and projecting to 2025, hoping someone would do the same for him. It's like he was scripting his own unknown end.
It's a level of commitment to a narrative that's just striking, extending even to how he imagined his own death.
Look at who he admired. Aileen Wuornos, for instance. He called her one of my other sisters in heaven.
And he drew specific parallels.
Yeah, he mentioned prostitute, grifter, violent and homicidal, and how she screamed at the jury. It suggests this deep identification with outcasts, with people who dramatically, even violently, rejected societal norms.
Like he saw himself in their alienation, maybe?
Perhaps. It seems like he felt profoundly other and found some sort of reflection or validation in these really extreme figures.
And this history, it really casts a shadow. This wasn't his first attempt, right?
No, absolutely not. There was a documented suicide attempt back on November 4th, 2012.
And he shared photos from the hospital.
He did. They became known as notorious images, and he explicitly said he hoped they'd get out there to show his pain. What's really chilling, though, is his anger about surviving it.
He was angry he lived.
He wished he'd had a near-death experience, seen his future, so he could have been screaming not to come back. That level of despair is just hard to grasp.
Yeah, wow.
So this long history, this fixation, it clearly leads into what happened recently. Users on the Kiwi Farms thread noted that Joe has been planning it out for years.
Some mentioned him preparing, what was it, a Hitler bunker? Since his earlier attempts failed between 2012 and 2014.
Yeah, that specific phrase came up. And there was even speculation within the community, that sort of dark observation they do,
What kind?
that maybe the farms rediscovering him during the COVID years prolonged the inevitable. But then seeing other figures like Alogs and Cobes going belly up, maybe he felt it was time.
Cobes being King Cobra JFS, another figure they follow closely. It's like they saw him viewing his own life as this narrative arc being watched.
Almost a meta-awareness, yeah, like he knew he was part of this ongoing online story.
So, the final act itself. The details discussed on Kiwi Farms are incredibly specific, almost clinical, but also performed.
It seems that way. Users detailed the methods: potassium cyanide, ingesting naughty pills, choking himself. Some mentioned a gas bottle contraction.
And it was live streamed. They even noted timestamps.
Right. Starting to throw up around 28.30, last moment around 38.30. It's stark documentation.
And true to form, he included symbolic props.
A framed photo of the mind blower and a plastic skeleton. It really was like a final performance piece. One user even called it, grimly, a technically competent suicide.
And the detail about the Sims dialogue box appearing at the end, whether it was planned or triggered by his heart rate, that just blurs the lines between his life and his digital persona even further.
It really does. But the reality of that video, the raw footage, it led to some really conflicting descriptions from viewers.
How so?
Some described it as relatively clean, a bloodless death, low amount of vomit, kind of controlled.
But others...
Others gave much more graphic accounts, helplessly vomiting black sludge onto himself for maybe 15 minutes, trying to get up, clinging to a plushie.
That's a huge difference in perception. It really shows how subjective even witnessing something like that online can be.
Absolutely. It underscores the varying thresholds people have and just how raw the reporting is in these forums.
So the community reaction, immediate shock.
Yeah, lots of what the actual fuck is this fucking crazy.
Maybe.
But also, genuine expressions of sorrow like R.I.P. my nigga, or similar sentiments, perhaps phrased less crudely by others.
Even within that cynical environment, there was real grief.
It seems so. It points to those complex, maybe parasocial bonds that form, even when you're just observing someone's often troubled life online.
And this event fueled this idea of what did they call it? A lolcow mass extinction event.
Yeah, that phrase started circulating. Users saying lolcows are dropping like fucking flies recently, talking about a cursed August, a rule of threes.
And comparing him to others who died recently, like King Cobra JFS, Purpleaki.
Exactly, which led to these dark, cynical theories. Is someone killing lolcows? Or just, the slow march of time?
And inevitably, speculation about who's next.
Of course. Mentioning terms like death fat, it's that morbid coping mechanism, that specific brand of Kiwi Farms humor or observation.
But amidst that, how was Winco himself remembered? What was his reputation?
It was actually quite mixed, but many seem to view him somewhat fondly in their own way, calling him one of the good ones, a non-evil lolcow.
Some even said funny, harmless schizo.
Right, and recognizing his unique style, calling him a vibes king, there was a definite sense that he had a certain aesthetic or way of doing things that resonated.
Did they discuss whether the online attention helped or hurt him in the long run?
Yeah, that came up. Did the fame or infamy maybe keep him going longer, given that stage?
Yeah.
Or did being under that microscope ultimately contribute to his end? It's impossible to know, really.
A really tough question. And what about his legacy? What did they predict?
Some pretty striking comments there.
Hmm.
One user famously said, "I feel like he's going to be the Van Gogh of lolcows, a genius unappreciated in life, but immortal in death."
Wow, that's quite a statement.
Another used the Hunter S. Thompson line, slightly adapted. "Too weird to live, too rare to die."
Captures that sense of unique otherness.
And then, more predictably perhaps, speculation about future Joe Winco ghost sittings and grave visits.
Keeping the narrative going.
And even cynical predictions that someone like Chris Bores might try to grift and perform a seance post-mortem interview with Winco, that kind of thing.
Sure.
It shows how these figures can become enduring online content, even after death.
So, reflecting on all this, what does this deep dive tell us? Watching Joe Winco's final act play out so publicly on Kiwi farms, it just exposes this incredibly complex, often really uncomfortable intersection between someone's private struggles, their public online persona,
And the intense, sometimes ruthless gaze of an online community.
yeah. It's a really stark reminder, isn't it, about the digital footprints we all leave and how they can be interpreted, dissected, reacted to long after we're potentially gone.
Absolutely, and it leaves us with a pretty provocative thought, I think. If a life lived so publicly online is in some ways a kind of performance,
Yeah.
what responsibility, if any, does the audience bear, especially in that final act, where it is just documenting something cross the line into participating in it, even indirectly? It's something worth thinking about.